do it. On the business side, the chambers of commerce do it. They're all political action groups, right? In order to try and get you to sway your opinion one way or the other. And so they really became political. And in fact, these Ocala demands proved to be pretty prescient because in 1890, when the election results come in, they matched a lot of the people who are winners. They seem to have backed a lot of winners. Indeed, they managed to get 3 senators elected who were on their list. They received quite a number of members of the House, 50 members of the House whom they had endorsed. More importantly, the majority of 12 state legislatures came in with alliance endorsements, as did 6 of the governors of states. And remember, not all the governors are necessarily being elected in the same year, okay? So that was not unimpressive. Now, mind you, let's be cautious here, okay? Just because that it says they were endorsed doesn't mean they got them. For example, when Barack Obama was elected, he was endorsed by NOW, the National Organization of Women. Does that mean because he was endorsed by NOW, that's the reason he won?
No.
No. When Bush won before him, when President Bush won before him, he was endorsed by the NRA, the National Rifle Association. Is that the reason that Bush won?
No.
No, okay? These are groups that would probably, their members probably would vote for those people anyway, okay? But it does help motivate voters. It does help bring some of those voters in or mobilize them. So one of the things about the Ocala demands, even though it sounds very impressive at first, realize a lot of the people they're endorsing are Democrats in the South. And at this time, if you're in the South, what party is going to get elected? It's the Democrat, okay? Because the South has a solid Democratic base. And so some of these were not really a surprise. But they're emboldened by it. And so some members of the Farmers Alliance decide they're going to begin to think about, doing things more politically. And 2 years later, in 1892, they meet in another exciting location, Omaha, Nebraska. Okay, Omaha, home of life insurance and stakes, right? No, Mutual of Omaha Stakes.
Sorry.
I'm sorry too. I thought that was really, and you know what? I am now 2 for 2 in that not working at all with these classes. Of course, in the 8 o'clock class, I am 0 for 10,000 pills. I swear that they actually have given me nothing but mannequins for my class. That resemble students, some of them resembling ex-students I've had. But I thank you all for breathing. Okay, it is much appreciated. Occasionally talking back, occasionally acting as if you're paying attention. It is so appreciated. It makes my day. So thank you. Yes. That doesn't mean I'm giving you points on the test. I'm not the gender. But anyway, so in 1892, they meet in Omaha, Nebraska, and they decide to create their own political party. They create the People's Party, known as the Populists. Now, this is complicated. Because it's unusual in a lot of ways. I mean, for example, it's still early 2011. What are already political pundits all excited about on the national level? What are they even talking about at this point? The election of 2012, a presidential election, which is almost 2 years away. And what are they all barking about? What's the excitement now? Huh? I didn't hear him, sorry.
He said that Obama's going for the presidency again.
Well, yeah, that was kind of the no-brainer, right? They said, who's the Democrats going to choose? Obama. Okay, well, unless he dies in the meantime, that's probably a lock-in, okay? Yeah, it's who's going to be the Republican, right? Is it Sarah Palin? Will she or won't she? What does she say? Is she really money? Is she not doing money? Who did she hire? Who did she fire? Does this mean that she's running? Is Alaska behind her? Donald Trump, is he going to run? Is he not going to run? Is he simply going to be on Fox News in order to show off his great new hairpiece? If he decides to run, will he have a vice president or will he have an apprentice? Nobody knows. Will they Hart Huckabee? And holy crap, and all these guys are saying, I might do it, you know, you can give me money, you know, and so of course everybody's trying to run their so they're all kind of playing coy, right? All of them are trying to get money, but at the same time they're saying might do it, might not do it, all this sort of thing. It's a game, right? But when you want to be president, you often have to start almost 2 to 3 years in advance nowadays, right? Or get the name recognition, raise the money, and all that. Imagine if you decided to run for president. I'm always worried when that happens. Boom! You know, oh, I see that they dumped another dead body upstairs. Okay. Yes, another student from my 8 o'clock class just ran out of necrotic energy. And deanimated upstairs at the graveyard where we secretly keep all of the ex-students. It's like the elephant graveyard, except that actually we use the rotting bodies for renewable energy. With that, why we're green certified in this building. Anyway, it's going to be an interesting day. Okay, anyway, so what the fuck was I talking about? I totally lost track.
No,
not if I don't get started.
People who are going to run for the 2012 election.
Oh yeah, so the whole point is that imagine if somebody decided to enter the race in July of 2012. Would they have much of a chance at all? No. Now imagine they weren't even in the major parties. Do third-party candidates for president tend to do well? No. Historically, it's very rare that a third-party candidate does well. And then the only time they've ever done well tends to be when they were previously president that are running on their own. And that's the story of the Bull Moose Party, which we'll get to a little bit later. It's unusual. It's one of those weird things. But in general, third party, for example, name me some third-party candidates that have run for president in the past. Anybody know any of them?
Ross Perot.
Okay, Ross Perot. Hi, my name's Ross. You know, Ralph Nader, seatbelt. You know,
Ron Paul.
Huh? Ron Paul, absolutely. Cut everything. You know, don't need that civil rights stuff. It's all good. You know. So yeah. Now, of these third-party candidates, when they've actually run as a third party, do they tend to get a lot of the popular vote?
No.
Do they tend to get electoral college votes?
No.
No. I mean, Ralph Nader's been on the ticket 3,000 times. I don't know. I think he's a zombie. You know, I think he belongs to my 8 o'clock class. You know, but I think he was talking about seatbelts back when there were carriages. Thou shalt use thou seatbelt. You know, what in your chariot, then her. You know, so he's been around for a while. But he never gets a whole lot. You know, he might affect state elections, but he really doesn't. You know, in the long run, not a big deal. Ross Perot, Ross the boss, right, with the big ears, really short guy. You know, they always had to use the wide-angle lens on him because Ross is like 2 feet tall. You know, and of that, 1.5 feet are his ears. And he's out of Texas, and he always would say, "Hi, you know, I'm back." You know, and it had the chart. He was great fun to do because he was like, "Ah, here's Charlie," you know, and they would say these weird things that are from Texas that only Texans would understand. And I'm from Texas, I couldn't illustrate. Well, that's like fitting a fly onto a cow and trying to run a derby race. You know, you simply can't brush the horse. What? You know? What the hell did you just say? Yeah?
Do you know what that means?
No! And the problem is, I'm not even sure if that's something that he said, but it's very Ross Perot-like. You know, whenever Ross Perot said something, it would always be this strange confabulation of what seemed to be Texas phrases, but when you diagnosed them, they made no sense, you know. But it sounded cool, you know. He literally like had his own language, you know, and it was Texans, you know. But anyway, he was definitely a man of the colorful metaphor. But the whole point is, it's very rare that this happens, which is why that I'm mentioning the Populist Party as being it's a huge deal historically in the United States. Okay, to give you an idea of what a big deal that the Populists were, they run and they basically get themselves up and running in the middle of 1892. They run a kind of non-well-known candidate, James Weaver, who's moderately high profile, but certainly not, nationally profiled guy. It's 1892, and I don't know that you remember this, But this is the rematch-up election between Harrison and Cleveland. Remember what had happened in the 1880 election,